welcome you all to the first congregation consecration Sunday. I'm just thrilled that you're all here this morning. I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for the morning. I first met this man in our work together on diocesan council. We worked through some things that year, and the next year as I finished my last term. And he has gone on to serve council for many years after I left. He's ending his term this year. It doesn't mean he's going very far away. More to share with that later. But I do want to introduce our guest speaker for the day, Mr. Walt.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think before I start, I'll share with you, my wife Susan and I were driving down this morning. And I don't do this very often. And I said, I'm not nervous because I'm going to speak, but I'm a little nervous that we may sit in somebody's seat. That's an Episcopal tradition, I know. The other Episcopal tradition is if you sit in the first few rows, you probably hedged your bets. When I was 8 years old, I started my first business. I bargained with the local manager at the Safeway. And I told him that I would give him exclusive rights to all the cherries that I could pick if he agreed to give me a fair price. And so we shook hands, and he gave me a bunch of those green pint boxes that strawberries used to come in and told me to go fill them up. My grandmother had 2 cherry trees in her backyard, and I picked all the cherries that I could reach, and I took them up to the Safeway, and I think I made about $9 or $10, but that was a lot of money for an 8-year-old kid in 1964. And I couldn't wait to show my father, what I had done. And when he came home from work, I showed him the money. I don't remember exactly the conversation, but it probably went something like this. My dad probably said, well, that's great. What are you going to do with the money? And I probably said that I had my eye on a new Justice League of America comic book, maybe go to the movie, do something. And I'm sure that he probably suggested to me that I should give it to the church. And I probably said, well, why would I do that? But that was the kind of man that he was, and he taught us from a very young age about giving. And I'm sure he probably asked me questions like, were those your trees? No, sir. Did you create those cherries? Those cherry blossoms? No, sir. Did you ripen those cherries? No, sir. But are you benefiting from all of them? Yes, sir. Are you grateful? Yes, sir. So I suspect he convinced me to probably give most of that money to the church. But I'm also pretty sure I bought some comic books. And I'm really glad he probably didn't ask me, did your grandmother know what you were doing? This is what I want to talk about for a few minutes this morning, and it's about giving with gratitude. Giving because we're grateful for what we have and because we want to share it with others. And I think this is very different than giving sacrificially. That phrase, giving sacrificially, has always puzzled me. Why would anybody want to do that? But if you talk to people about giving with gratitude, they can get motivated by it. One of the things I love about the writers of our Gospels, and today was a great example, is they often use parables. And the great thing about a parable is it allows you to look at 2 contrasting people or 2 contrasting points of view. And this is so with stewardship. There are 2 contrasting points of view about this. The Right Reverend Mark Beckwith, who was the bishop of the Diocese of Newark, penned an article entitled, Stewardship, Gratitude or Obligation? And in the article, he describes stewardship as the main work of the church. He defines stewardship simply as all we do with all we have all of the time. Now let me repeat that. Stewardship is all we do with all we have, all the time. It's sharing all that God has given us. He goes on to surmise that stewardship is an outward demonstration of gratitude. Or at least that it should be. Gratitude is often the source of giving to others. It's our human nature that when we feel gratitude, when we're grateful for something, we want to share it with other people. If you have good fortune, when you have good news, you want to share it. Our relationship with God is the same. When we're grateful for what we have, our human condition is to share until we don't. When speaking directly about financial stewardship, he contends that we get this brain cramp of justification and rationalization, and gratitude gets trumped by obligation. That our giving goes from a desire to seek greater gratitude and generosity to a position of rationalizing what I think the church needs. Not how I can share generously from my heart, and from my time, and my treasures, and do more next year than I did this year, and do more the following year than I did next year. With all that I have. I want you to go someplace with me in your head. Okay? So imagine that you're walking into your favorite grocery store. And when you go to the right, instead of seeing all of that produce, stores always put produce on the right because people shop right to left. But instead of seeing all of that produce, you see display cases full of God's grace. And then back where the meat should be, there are tables that are overflowing with forgiveness. And you can stock up on love on aisle 9, and you can grab some hope by the checkout lane, and you can put as much of that as you want into your cart. As many times as you want. And it's all free. It's all free. And it's our responsibility then to take that and share it. Go out and share all that free stuff. As apostles, it's our duty to share the free stuff. So how do we do it? We build magnificent churches like this. We maintain them, we open the doors, and we invite other people to come in and be in communion with us and share our free stuff. We operate day schools so that we can have affordable child care and early childhood development in a neighborhood that desperately needs it. You plant orchards and you have community gardens. We understand and we plant ministries that make us present in our communities. In my church community, in our church community, we provide free clothing for infants and toddlers. We provide free diapers and formula. We offer family counseling because that's what our community needs. We all give with a grateful heart and with gratitude. Did you know that the word give appears in the Bible 2,172 times? That's more than the words pray, love, and believe combined. Almost twice as much. Now there's some Bible trivia for you. So to say that there isn't a lack of scripture to draw on for a talk like this would be an understatement. But rather than draw on scripture, I got some inspiration from Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's one of my favorite movies, and I had it on the other day, and it was kind of background noise while I was doing some other things. And all of a sudden, I started to listen because I heard, he used to always say, "My mama said." I call that's mama's wisdom. Well, you know the scene I'm going to talk about. It's a scene where he's sitting on the bench at the bus stop. And he's got his box of chocolates on his lap, and he's talking to this elderly lady. And he's telling her about how he became a gazillionaire. And he's telling her about how he met Bubba, and he and Bubba had plans to get into the shrimping business. And then Bubba got killed in Vietnam, but he went and he got a shrimp boat, and he got into the shrimping business anyway. And then Lieutenant Dan came, and they did the shrimping business together, and then his mama got sick, and so he had to go home. But Lieutenant Dan finished the shrimping business, and then he sold it, and he made a whole lot of money. And then he invested it in a fruit company, Apple. And that's how he became a gazillionaire. And so, but that's not the inspiration. Because then he goes on to say, but I gave most of it away. He said, I gave half of it to Bubba's mama because that was the right thing to do. And he built a church. And then he gave some to some people who needed it that he met when he was running across the United States. And then he told her that he got a new job, and he was cutting the football field at the Greenbow, Alabama High School, and he does it for free because he's a gazillionaire. But this is the piece that got me. This is the mama wisdom, because then he goes on to say, Mama told me that a person only needs so much money, and the rest of it is just for showing off. And that absolutely stopped me in my tracks. Because I thought to myself, guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. So let me finish with this. Let's be reminded of what Paul wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians. He said, God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. Amen.